You've also worked together with SETI and also METI, right? Can you maybe explain to people that don't know what those are and maybe what your role is with those programs?
So SETI is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and METI is messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. So the question before the people of Earth, I think, is this. If we can send a message to a potential, or just send a message out there into the void to be picked up by whoever or whatever is out there, is that a thing we want to do? And that's maybe the first question to be asked and answered is, is that a choice we want to make? Do we have, who has the ethical authority to speak for an entire planet? Or is that not a thing? Maybe everybody could just say what they want to say. And some people have a very strong feeling that that would be dangerous. And some people have a very strong feeling that sitting in a corner and not saying anything is not a good way to make friends and start relationships. So there are very strong opinions on both sides of that.
Which side do you lean on?
Oh, heck. I really have gone back and forth. I began as a let's everybody build a radio telescope and let's go. We've got to say hello. Because we are adventurers, we are seekers, we are questers after new experiences, and we explore. And so part of exploring, part of honest exploring is to become part of what you're exploring and to say that you're there. Or because it feels, I don't know what it feels. It feels deceptive to me to lurk and to observe without indicating that you're there. But on the other hand, people who are worried that this is a bad move, either because one group of people is being very presumptuous and speaking for another, or people who don't want to communicate because they're genuinely afraid that that might be the trigger for the bad guys to come and get us and eat us. I don't want to be disrespectful of those points of view. So I think where I end up is this. It's really important that we work hard on decoding messages and on encoding messages so that we are ready when we get one or when somebody stops by.
We have sent messages into space, right?
Yes, we have.
The Arecibo message, I hope I don't butcher the pronunciation, but can you maybe explain what the Arecibo message was and why it was potentially problematic?
I don't know if that one was especially problematic because it wasn't aimed particularly at any place, and it's sort of hard to decode. People have given the Arecibo message to all kinds of folks on Earth and said, "Hey, what does this mean?" And people are like, I got nothing. I don't know what that is.
What was it though?
It was a grid. So if you take, this is a strategy for making pictures with dots, right? If I give you, let's see, let me quickly come up with, okay. So if I give you 49 dots, you'll think, why did she just send me 49 dots? What's it with 49 dots? You arrange them, they don't look like anything. They look like 49 dots. No one can understand a list like that. But it might occur to you that 49, the number 49 is 7 times 7. And so you might think, hey, I got an idea. I'll make 7 rows of 7 dots. And then I'll see if that makes anything. And if you arrange them that way, then you might see that the Arecibo message, which was not 7 by 7, but much, much bigger, that there's like an outline of what could be a person, what could be a planet, what could be, could be lots of different things, right? And so it was just this little grid pixels, just like pixels on a screen. If you arrange them in the right way, you can get a picture. And then go ahead and try to understand what that picture was, because that's hard.
And it again assumes that they have vision.
No, it assumes that they have grids. So I could take
Grids.
that message of beeps and I could make a dot and a not dot, right? So the great thing about radio signals and lots of scientific equipment is they're looking at things that are invisible anyway. Like a radio signal is invisible. So
To us.
you might decide that you want to look at that. Or you might decide that you want to listen to it, or you might decide that you want to feel it, or you might decide that whatever other sensory modality you've got, you want to express it that way. It does also, along with assuming that you do grids, it also sort of assumes that like a line drawing of a thing will make any sense to you, or that you will take dots and draw lines between them. So there's some cognitive stuff that has to go on about connecting dots and arranging dots that is medium agnostic, right? So
Right.
what do you do with that signal when you get it? I mean, I might make dots with it. You might make visual dots with it. Somebody else might do something else with it.
Mm-hmm. So that was a Arecibo message. What did we do later on the second time
Gosh,
around?
we've done crazy things. Like there was a Doritos commercial that was blasted into space. Um, there are some, there are, we are emitting all kinds of signals that aren't very strong that probably won't get anywhere. We're also emitting pulses of military radar that, again, theoretically, depending on who's listening and how they're listening, could get through. We talk a lot about our old television signals that are expanding in a globe outside of Earth. And again, they're pretty faint by the time they get anywhere. I don't know, but also we don't know who's listening and with what ability. And whether we message or not, if you look at our planet, we have a biosignature and a technosignature, right? If you have the right equipment and you're looking at Earth, and you look at it at the right time, and from the right distance, you can tell something's up here.
Yeah, so we might as well send messages into space.
That's one philosophy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably, whether we're like actively sending messages into space in the hope that one alien civilization will decode them one day. Yeah, like you say, there's a lot going on Earth as it is. We have satellites, we have radio, we have all sorts of other waves that are being emitted from Earth, probably. So yeah, it's probably, if we want to if we want to hide from the aliens, we're not doing a very good job.
No, we're not. And then you have to decide what it is to say hello. Is it impudence? Is it foolishness? Is it graciousness? Is it kindness? What that is varies from person to person, how they interpret that initiative.
Right. And what about receiving signals? I know about the wow signal. What was that
Yeah.
all about?
Golly, nobody really knows. Probably not aliens. It'd be
Why?
okay. Well, okay, first off, well, because it wasn't repeated, right? So if they meant to say hello, they didn't try very hard. Just like, hey! But if you ever shouted a friend's name across a room, like you try more than once, don't you? Like if they don't turn around. But then again, that's my human assumption. So I could be wrong. I can always be wrong. But it might have been. Probably.
But why was it? Why did the person write down "wow" in the first place? Because that's why it was named the "wow" signal, right? It was
Yeah.
they were listening to space, and then there was a signal that was received, and this signal looked remarkable, and that's why the scientist who found the signal wrote down "wow." And
Yes.
that's how it was named, the "wow" signal. But
Yes.
I'm not a scientist, so I want to understand like what made this person say wow.
I couldn't tell you exactly why, but if you're just listening, quote listening, if you got your recorders on, tuned to various radio signals in space, mostly what you see is sort of random noise. And if you try to make it into sound, you hear white noise. And so there was some kind of momentary orderliness about that signal that struck the person as artificial. Because natural noise is kind of chaotic, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.